Why did Judas Iscariot betray Jesus? Here are 6 possible reasons. No. 1. He wanted to make money. Greed was probably the primary reason Judas betrayed Jesus. The Gospels of Matthew and John both say that Judas was motivated by money. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus tells his disciples, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It won't be like that among you. Just as the Father has sent me, I am sending you." But Judas, who was the disciple in charge of their common purse, left them to find out how much money he could make from betraying Jesus. He then agreed to betray Jesus to the chief priests and elders for 30 pieces of silver, which was the Old Testament price of a common slave. John's Gospel goes further. John writes that Judas, who had control of the money bag, was a thief and that he would often steal from it. So when Judas saw that Jesus was going to be arrested, he thought, "This is my chance to get rich. Let me deliver Jesus into the hands of the religious leaders so they will pay me a fortune." Number 2. He was disillusioned with Jesus. Some scholars suggest that Judas expected Jesus to be a political Messiah who would overthrow Roman rule and establish an earthly kingdom in Israel Mesha, who would give him power and status because he would be on the winning side. When Jesus spoke about a spiritual kingdom, one based on humility, suffering, and service, not military conquest, Judas saw this as a betrayal of what he expected the Messiah to be. So he abandoned Jesus, his master, in the same way Jesus had apparently abandoned his hopes and dreams. Of course, this is only speculation. We don't know for sure that Judas had these expectations of the Messiah. Number 3. Satan influenced him. The Gospels tell us that Satan entered Judas. So we must understand Judas's betrayal in a spiritual dimension as well as a human one. The chief priests and elders may not have been able to persuade Judas to betray Jesus if Satan had not first put the idea into his head and made it seem appealing. Satan exploited Judas's greed and doubt, filling his mind with temptations that led him to betray Jesus. No, for the religious leaders pressured him. When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the chief priests and elders were already looking for a discreet way to arrest him. They hadn't yet decided how to get rid of him. But they knew they needed to act, and Judas's offer came just at the right time. All they had to do was agree to pay him 30 pieces of silver, and they had an insider who could help them capture Jesus without any resistance. So there's a good chance that Judas was persuaded or blackmailed by the religious leaders, or maybe he simply told them what he planned to do, and they said, "Great, let's go ahead and do it." As far as Judas was concerned, he was doing the Jewish religious leaders a favor by getting rid of Jesus, who was a threat to their authority and a troublemaker who didn't believe in the law of Moses. No. 5. He wanted to force Jesus' hand. Another possibility is that Judas tried to force Jesus to act. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus says that the Son of Man would be betrayed by one of his own people. But once Jesus is arrested, he doesn't resist. He lets Peter cut off Malchus's ear, and then he allows himself to be taken away. Judas may have expected Jesus to prove he was the Messiah by performing miracles, like turning water into wine, healing the sick, calming the storm, raising the dead, or even conquering death itself. By delivering Jesus into the hands of the authorities, Judas forced Jesus' hand. He pushed him to show his power. But Jesus didn't do what Judas expected. He didn't defend himself or punish those who arrested him. He simply suffered and died, perhaps. Judas believed that Jesus would reveal his glory in the resurrection, but in the meantime, he couldn't see beyond the cross. No. 6. He was a weak man. Ultimately, Judas was a weak man. He was tempted and he fell. Even though Jesus chose him to be one of his 12 disciples, Judas still struggled with greed, doubt, and pride. He never overcame these tendencies, and they destroyed him. After he betrayed Jesus, Judas realized what he had done. He was filled with remorse and he tried to give the money back. But it was too late. His sin was not only against Jesus, it was against God. And he couldn't undo what he had done. Judas took his own life. He was so ashamed and guilty that he ended his life. In the end, Judas's betrayal was a combination of greed, disillusionment, satanic influence, and human weakness. Whether he acted purely for money or because he was frustrated with Jesus' message, he played the pivotal role of delivering Jesus into the hands of the authorities, and in doing so, he triggered the events that led to Christ's crucifixion. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.